Blog Talk Radio.
All right, everybody, good evening. Another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm Todd Corder coming Atlanta. JJ's on the other side of the ATL. Mark's in Los Angeles, and our producer, Wayne, is in Memphis. We have a special guest this evening, Logan Lamorandier, writer for Sports Illustrated's All Detroit Lions. We'll be bringing him aboard in a few minutes. Guys, how is everybody today? We've got a headline coming out of Atlanta. The NBA All-Star Game will be here on the 7th of March. Each side is finalizing details of the plan as we speak. All right, guys, let's go around the hill and let's introduce ourselves to the show and how you can get a hold of us. You can get a hold of me at Corder, C-O-R-D-E-R, Todd, or you can get a hold of all of us at ATL Prime Sports. JJ, how are you? How they can get a hold of you?
Oh, doing well. Always, you can find me on Twitter at JJGetYouOne, and I am doing great. Not as good as Jim McIngvale, a Houston furniture store owner who placed a hefty $3.46 million wager on the underdog Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Could win them $2.72 million, so I'm doing pretty good.
All right, yes, no doubt about it. I'd like to wager that kind of money. It's probably like Monopoly money for this guy.
I couldn't even
Mark,
imagine.
How are you this evening out of Los Angeles? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, the last few days it kind of felt like I was in Buffalo or Seattle, but it seems like the sun's making its way through here at about 4:05 here on the West Coast, and I'm wearing a shirt that says, "Raise the flags in Tampa Bay."
Well, you got some rough weather there for you. I really feel sorry for you out in Los Angeles. Wayne, how are you? One of the best producers in the business out in Memphis. Tell us how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at RWYJunior. And Memphis may be cold outside, but inside the FedEx Forum, the Memphis Tigers are heating up that court.
They are indeed, no question. They are they're on a roll right now. Let's see if they can continue to do it. But before we get into all that, we've got our guest, Logan Lamorandier, writer for Sports Illustrated All Lions. Logan, you've been a guest on our show many times. Thank you for coming on once again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Lots to talk about, isn't there?
Yes, there is. There's never a dull moment with the Detroit Lions, and everybody out there knows what we're going to discuss. The Lions sending Matt Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams for 2 first-round selections, a 2021 third-round pick, and, of course, quarterback Jared Goff. Logan, your thoughts on the trade?
Yeah, the instant reactions. You know, we knew it was all going to happen. It was just going to be win, and it sounded like it was going to be happening before the Super Bowl. And really, I thought my expectations were probably a first-round pick as well as a mid-round pick. And the Lions pulled off 2 first-round picks as well as a third-round pick and Jared Goff. And now it seems like that's a huge haul, and I think it is. But throwing Goff into the mix kind of muddies the water a little bit because he does have a big contract, and I think the Rams were just trying to get out of that. And the Lions had a use for a quarterback, and Brad Holmes, their new GM, was here, probably liked Goff a lot more than there maybe others out there, considering that he played a part in drafting Goff first overall. So I really like the trade. And I know some people are also kind of a little upset that it's 2 first-round picks the next 2 years, you know, in 22 and 23, not in 2021. And sometimes that decreases the value of the pick. But just where the Lions are at in a rebuild right now, you know, the whole Goff contract, I don't think it's a big deal just because they can get out of it. After this year, if they were able to trade him for anything, they don't have anything on the cap next year. And then if they were to just cut him next year, it'd be $15.5 million. And then the 2 years after that, you can just cut him for nothing. And so if you're concerned about the Goff contract, again, the Lions, I don't think are expecting to be competitive next year. You know, they're going to try their best, but realistically, I think Dan Campbell knows that they're a couple years away. And then the same with the draft picks that they got in return. Yeah, they got a third-round pick this year, but the next 2 years kind of spacing out more draft capital and just being able to continue to build upon what's going to happen this year, I think goes a long way. So it makes sense for both sides. It really does. And I don't see why Lions fans can be too upset with the trade. And I feel like if you're a Rams fan, for the most part, I think the majority feel that Stafford's quite a bit better than Goff. and can do a lot more and can make some throws that Goff can't. And they have a tight window right now to get to the Super Bowl, and they just traded for a quarterback in his prime. And, they got to make it happen. So I really like it for both sides. I know that was a long-winded answer, but that was kind of my general thoughts on it.
Hey, Logan, it was the perfect answer. JJ, glad to have you back here. Listeners, you're listening to ATL Prime Sports with Logan Lamorandier, all Lions, Sports Illustrated writer, all Lions. My question to you, is Goff part of the future? I've heard some rumors that maybe there's trade rumors for Goff right now on the Lions roster. Is he part of the future? And the second part of that question would be, if he is part of the future, what do the Lions do in the draft with the draft ahead?
Yeah, so that's the big debate right now is what the Lions do in the draft, but I'll get to that after the Goff question of just regarding his future. And I do feel like the Lions are going to give Goff an honest chance to get the quarterback. He's probably going to have the job this year unless they draft someone, but even if they draft someone, I still feel like Goff, being the veteran, will be the starter. And if he plays well, maybe they give him another shot. And with Brad Holmes as GM, he's the guy who helped orchestrate, get that trade up to grab Jared Goff. And he's seen Goff at his best in 2018 when he took him to the Super Bowl. So being only 26 years old, there's still maybe some developing that can happen. And, you look at like Sean McVay's offense, the Rams, he was basically the quarterback until 15 seconds left on the play clock. He was in Goff's ear as much as he could be. And maybe it kind of stunted Goff's growth. And Anthony Lynn, the new Lions offensive coordinator, yes, he's kind of more of a running backs coach. He's been that most of his career, only an offensive coordinator or play caller one season. But you saw he had some decent success also out in Los Angeles, but with the Chargers and Justin Herbert. Now, who we want to give credit to for having Herbert's success is still kind of a mystery. But I do think that the intention is to give Goff a real chance in Detroit. And, maybe there were other teams that were asking the Rams when Goff was still there about a trade. So to me, my ears perked up and like, wait a minute. So there's actually suitors out there that would be interested in taking Goff off the Lions' hands right now. I mean, like, get more draft capital. That sounds great to me. But I do think, from all the reports that have come out, it really seems like the Lions coaching staff and everyone wants to give Goff a chance. And so going into the next year's draft, I think the Lions, I was kind of on the fence with the Lions drafting a quarterback any of this before the Goff trade. And now I feel like I'm more so inclined that I hope that they don't draft the quarterback unless there's one there that you just can't pass up. So you got to kind of figure that out. But really, I think the Lions are so desperately needing talent that the best player available, you got to take them. And the Lions are probably going to have another high pick next year if they need to draft a quarterback. And the class isn't as so strong next year, but I feel like there's been plenty of late risers, the Kyler Murrays and the Joe Burrows, the Zach Wilsons of the world that all make a late appearance and shoot up draft boards. So to me, I just feel like the Lions shouldn't reach. They should not reach for a quarterback. If there's a quarterback, there's probably going to be one or two quarterbacks in this draft class that they're infatuated with. And if that guy is there, then take him. I'm not going to be upset about it. But at the same time, don't just reach for your future QB because you feel like you need to.
Logan, Mark Mancini here. When I look at the Lions, and I'm originally from Pittsburgh, it kind of reminds me of the Pirates baseball team in some ways. A lot of years without doing anything, and not to reflect so much on the negative, to look at the future of this team. How do you get the fan base in Detroit to really buy into where this team is going in the future? I saw the Dan Campbell introductory when he came on, and I didn't know. I had to scratch my head, to be honest. I didn't know if I was watching a UFC, premiere coming on or something. Look at these guys that have come through here. Is he taking a page out of the old Jerry Glanville, O.A. Bum Phillips book as far as to resurrect this franchise, to get this thing on solid ground moving forward? And as far as Jared Goff, he was in Los Angeles, and I looked at Jared Goff like I looked at, Dieter Brock, Jim Everett, or Pat Hayden, he wasn't going to be the guy that if he got you to the Super Bowl, he wasn't going to be the guy that was going to get you back to the Super Bowl. So I guess it's a three-part question, and I'd love to hear your comments on that.
Yeah, so on the first part, the Lions have tried, I feel like they've gone down every single avenue looking for head coaches. They've tried just about everything, and nothing's ever worked. And whenever you're firing a coach like Patricia, who was really just not a player-friendly coach, the culture he was trying to instill was the Patriots culture, which only really works if you're winning. And as the Lions lost more and more, I think it just soured more and more. And the Lions want to go the complete opposite of that with their new hire. Now they just want they want a leader. They want someone who has people that want to play for him. And you saw that with the coaching hires that were made. And I think that's another reason to be optimistic about Dan Campbell. Yes, he might not be the brightest football mind, but if he can be a leader and have the proper support staff around him, that's really going to help. And there's so many positions, like there's former defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators and the head coaches on this team and as special advisors, to the GM. And I feel like every new hire that the Lions have or inexperienced hire that the Lions have, there's someone with experience going to be right there with them. And so that's when I first heard about the Dan Campbell rumors that he was going to be hired, I'm like, I don't know if I really like this at all, because I would prefer someone who is known for being a great mind, because that's what ultimately wins in a league of parity. You have to separate yourself. But to me, I do feel like we've seen it in coaches, at least, where coaches want to come in Detroit and have passed up with other opportunities to be Dan Campbell. Maybe the Lions can build a culture that's more player friendly that players would want to go to. And yes, they're going to need to win. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a rebuild. I don't think it's going to be a quick turnaround. The Lions fan base is pretty resilient. There's always optimism. Yes, I know there's the fans out there who aren't and will always take the pessimistic approach, and for good reason, because it's been such a long time since the Lions have been winners. But I don't know. It's for me, it's more of a wait and see type of thing. I'm always cautiously optimistic. I try to find the silver lining in everything. I try to find the reasons of why things might work, and just hope everything comes to fruition. But regarding Goff, he with the Super Bowl, it goes back to the whole quarterback wins argument. Goff, I don't think was necessary. He had a great year when the Rams went to the Super Bowl. He really did. He put up some great stats. But you look at the rushing attack he was working with and the defense that he had, and Todd Gurley's. I don't think it's any coincidence that Todd Gurley's best season was also the same season that Goff did really well. They worked in unison together and complemented each other really well. But then, as you see so often with young quarterbacks, once they get the big contract and the team around them starts to crumble a little bit, and they might not have all the pieces, and they're not such a complete team, and the game really falls on their shoulders, it's tough for them to really elevate their game to become just true playmakers and guys that can still win without it. And so with Goff, you'd hope that he'd still have some more potential at age 26. He was a first overall pick for a reason. There is some talent there, but yeah, I'm not envisioning Goff as the long-term solution for the Lions. And I hope he is, because it'd be great. It'd be a steal of a deal if we got him in that package for Stafford, and the Lions didn't end up even needing to draft a quarterback. But ultimately, to me, he's still a bridge quarterback.
Well, Logan, you mentioned a bridge quarterback, and I've seen that with many folks on social media saying that bridge quarterbacks honestly don't get teams to the Super Bowl very often. I mean, you look at Jared Goff's career, it seems to be two parts for me. The first couple of years was outstanding. The last 2 years has been turnover. It's been like 38 turnovers the last 2 years. He's had problems with interceptions, holding on to the football. If he can clean that up, and the Lions do decide to change their philosophy from when they had Stafford, when all they were doing was throwing it 40-plus times a game because they didn't have a running game. Now, if they can get a running game and they can get a play-action pass and put a traditional fullback in there, which is what Dan Campbell wants to do, with some tight end sets, Jared Goff could be, he could be successful. And you mentioned also the fact this team is really, they don't have a lot of talent. So if you don't have a lot of talent, you got to go the Dallas Cowboys route in the early 90s and trade down and get as many picks as you can. Try to get another first rounder in this draft. What are your thoughts on that? And in terms of them setting up the offense for Jared Goff, because you got a lot of former professional players on this staff. I actually like the direction the Lions are going.
Yeah, I would absolutely love a trade down. And we kind of saw, the teams that were interested in Stafford part. You got the Panthers right behind the Lions. You got the Broncos. You got the Colts. You got the Redskins, the 49ers. You have all these teams that are looking for a quarterback. And the Lions are kind of right at that spot in the draft where the last of the big four quarterbacks might be going off the board. And if there's a mad scramble to get up there, I think the Lions could trade back again. And I mentioned earlier, I don't need the Lions. They don't have to draft a quarterback this year. If they can build up more draft capital, I am all for it. And the more you build up that draft capital, the more you can move up if you ever needed to in the future to get the quarterback you really wanted in the first place. But I do agree. I think there needs to be a team in place, not only for Goff, but maybe for a potential future quarterback. And yeah, when I called Goff a bridge quarterback, I think he's on the top end of a bridge quarterback yet, because there's not too many bridge quarterbacks that can get to the Super Bowl. I know it carries a negative connotation to it, but for me, I just want to see a complete team around the quarterback in general, and we never had that with Stafford. It took forever. Stafford never had a running game in Detroit, which is amazing to believe how that's even possible. And then as far as the defense goes, outside of 1 year of having a great defense, the defense was, for the most part, always below average. So I would really like to see this year, yes, the Lions try to build a team around Goff. It might be difficult to do just with the cap situation they're in, the limited amount of draft capital they have this year. But if they pass upon a quarterback and Goff's still around next year, and maybe they draft a quarterback next year and Goff is still there, maybe they have enough talent where Goff can start to be successful, because the Lions could actually establish a run game or have a defense. And I like, from all the defensive hires the Lions have been making, I think what their philosophy is going to be. It seems like it's going to be a little bit more aggressive while trying to use the pieces that they already have there. So I think the defense, it can't get any worse. So even if they could make it a miracle and turn it into like a middling defense, I think the offense still, depending on what happens at receiver, it still has enough firepower to make things interesting. So there's a lot that can unfold from now with free agency and the draft going up to the season. But to me, yeah, I would really like the Lions to trade down. Going back to that.
Well, especially in the first two rounds, Logan, you got the high second round pick, first round pick, trade out of it and get 2 picks in each round. Because there's always the more talent you get, the Lions are just. You look at the record 5-11 last year, and you're thinking, how did this team win 5 games? I mean, Matthew Stafford basically took this team on his back for a couple of victories, and then you look at his career, 12 seasons with the Lions, and them making the playoffs 3 times with the roster they had. Out of the Jim Caldwell era, Caldwell made the playoffs,
impressive.
2 times in 4 years, and yet they fired him, which was mind-boggling in the first place.
Mind-boggling.
But Logan, we got to let you go. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We'll have to have you back on as the season goes and we get closer to the draft. Okay?
For sure, guys. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you once again for coming on. That's Logan Lamorandier, the writer for Sports Illustrated's All Lions. He covers my team when I was a kid, the Detroit Lions. I used to be a Detroit Lions season ticket holder a long, long time ago. All right, speaking of the NFL, gentlemen, let's flip over to the hometown team, the Atlanta Falcons. As you guys know, they have the number 4 pick in the draft. The Falcons organization made a statement that they are going to go with Matt Ryan as quarterback. He's had several conversations with head coach Arthur Smith, so they're ready to go. So what are you doing at number 4 if you're Atlanta, JJ?
Well, if I'm Atlanta, I'm kind of on the Logan train. I'd like to acquire as many picks as possible. I'd like to trade down because we know you're not getting the quarterback. I think you can get the defensive back that you're looking for later in the draft. But right now, if we're talking about keeping the pick at 4, I'm going to take Patrick Surtain out of Alabama. Sure-handed defensive back, gets you the interception you need late in the game. Ball hawking skills, lockdown coverage skills, got great footwork. I'm taking Patrick Surtain. But if what I think Atlanta should do, and this is a personal opinion, of course, trade down, acquire as many picks as possible. But if they are picking, take Patrick Surtain. He's the certain thing to do. Cornerback out of Alabama.
All right, Mark, what are you doing? If you're
the first thing you got to do in anything is you got to build that offensive line. You want a strong offensive line or a defensive line. Games are won in the trenches. I see a lot of teams draft running backs, wide receivers, and to me these are a dime a dozen. Unless you're getting a kid with character and integrity back there to really buy into what you're doing in the near future. So I like Matt Ryan a lot. He was rumored to come out here before that whole Stafford-Goff thing went down. So if he decides to stay in Atlanta and they don't move him, I think it's a good thing. Get another year out of Gurley, get his feet wet in the ATL, and start trying to build something there because it's a tough division. If Breeze comes back, everybody's looking up at Tampa and New Orleans in that division. You might bypass Carolina, but you still got to make some headway into that division with those two ahead of you.
Well, Breeze is not going to come back. The rumors are he's going to retire, and the announcement's going to come out between 7 and 14 days. And number 2, Todd Gurley is not coming back to the Falcons unless it's a bargain basement deal. We don't see that happening.
See Gurley, yeah. Just to
Wayne, tell us your thoughts. If you're the Falcons, what are you doing?
I kind of like the guy that's out of Penn State, the linebacker there.
Micah Pearson, yeah.
Is it Micah Parsons?
Parsons, that's it, Parsons.
Right, Micah Parsons. So you like the Falcons to grab an aggressive tackling machine linebacker out of Penn State? That's you know what? I don't know if he's going to be there. I mean, he'll be there at 4, but I'm not sure his value is at 4. It is up there for Micah Parsons. I've seen teams. He's definitely in the single digits. You really hate to say, is that a reach for such an outstanding player? Actually, Parsons didn't even play college football this year at Penn State. He sat out. Wayne, I like your aggressiveness. The Falcons could use another linebacker. I'm with JJ. I'm trading down, but if I trade down, I'm trading down and getting me a pass rush. You have got to get to the quarterback, and you've got to be able to protect the quarterback. Those are the two things. Mark mentioned the offensive line. I'll flip the script and go D-line, and if the Falcons don't trade down, they can still get a D-line at 4. Everybody kind of sort of gave a different answer, which tells you the team has many needs. It's hard to believe they only won 4 games this season because they had a better than a 95% chance in winning 5 of them that they lost. It was such a mind-boggling season for the Falcons. All right, let's see. We got about 6 minutes left in the show. Let's go to another sport. Let's go to the Atlanta Braves. Let's go to Major League Baseball. And, guys, that, to me, with outfielder designated here Marcell Ozuna, he's a free agent. He had an outstanding season in Atlanta this year. The debate is, should the Braves, A, bring him back, and B, what price do they bring him back? I'll tell you right now, I have no idea what Marcell Ozuna's market really is going to look like due to the pandemic, but he's 5 years younger than Josh Donaldson, who got 4 years, $92 million guaranteed from the Twins, plus a 5th-year option. I know, like I said, the economics are different because of the pandemic, but I tell you what, I sort of would consider a similar deal with Ozuna for 4 years. JJ, what are your thoughts?
You know me, I am a guy that if you're getting paid $100 million, I want you here for a long period of time as a fan. But here's the deal. The DH is up in the air for the 2021 season. Is Marcell Ozuna that big of a question mark in left field? I don't think so. I think the Braves should re-sign him, but not for anything more than maybe 1 or 2 years for $50, $60 million. I'm not giving a guy a $100 million contract when the DH is bearing down here, and you don't know if it's coming to the National League because it looks like the players did down the proposal. So that's a slippery slope. If I'm Alex Anthopoulos, you're doing everything you can to get a value player out of Marcell Ozuna, but he's not a value player. He had a career year in every statistical category last year. You expect that to drop a little bit over a period of 162 games versus 60. So maybe that comes into play. I'm all for signing Marcell Ozuna as long as the money's right. I wouldn't give him a long-term deal simply because you don't know if the DH is coming for sure or not yet.
Well, speaking of long-term deals, Mark, when you look at the numbers for Marcell Ozuna, 27 to 2020, he had 531 plate appearances, 287 average, 27 homers, 89 RBIs for 162 games, 693 plate appearances, 35 homers, 17 RBIs, 92 runs. I'm saying show me the money and paying him. It doesn't look like that there's going to be a DH in the National League. The players want to play 162. Your thoughts, Mark? We got about less than 3 minutes left in the show. Do you want to?
Well, I'm going to wrap it up real quick. I look at quiet dynasties. You got the quiet dynasty in the NFL, the New England Patriots. In the NBA, it's the San Antonio Spurs. In Major League Baseball, it's the St. Louis Cardinals. Over the years, they bring in the one guy that turns their program around. They got Nolan Arenado. I look at the other two teams in the National League that have actually done something. The Washington Nationals making trades to get Josh Bell and Brad Hand in there, picking up John Lester. The Padres that are doing something. I know the Braves have tweaked it a little, but I'm looking for major turnarounds. And these three teams that I just mentioned are going to be in the thick of things, whether they play 60 games, 100 games, 162 games. These three teams have opened up their wallets to make sure in the National League they're going to be competitive. As far as Ozuna, he needs to go back to St. Louis if the Braves ain't going to give him the money, and they'll have a banner year in St. Louis. I mean, it seems like everybody that goes into St. Louis, it's kind of like Pittsburgh hockey. You tweak it, bring one guy in, you win a Stanley Cup.
That's an interesting analogy. Wayne, we got less than 2 minutes left. Are you bringing in Marcell Ozuna? I gave the numbers. He was a big-time protection for Freddie Freeman last year. Do you bring him back?
Yeah, honestly, that's not a fight my dog's involved in. I'm looking forward to Texas Rangers playing in the new stadium, and I'm also considering getting some season tickets for the Memphis Redbirds, which is the feeder team for St. Louis.
Well, I will say this. The Texas Rangers could use him in that ballpark. He can definitely spray it out of there. There's no question about that. All right, guys, we got less than a minute. It's pretty much time to wrap up the show. Tomorrow on ATL Prime Sports, it'll be our Super Bowl special. The first 15 minutes of the show, we will talk about exclusively the Super Bowl. All four of us will give our predictions. You can call 1-347-205-9631. Give yours, and we'll talk about the game in the second half of the show. We're going to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball and expand on the story about the players wanting to play 162. The Biden administration doesn't want the players, don't want baseball to start on time. We're all going to give our thoughts on that, and we'll see who wins that situation. The Biden administration is with Major League Baseball, so it'll be the MLBPA versus MLB and the Biden administration. I got a feeling the players are going to win. I'm with the players. That's it. We're out of time. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow night on ATL Prime Sports. Good night, everybody.